What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and for today I wanted to give you guys another ABX comparison, this time for the Blast supervillain category. Now, while it goes without saying that the number one character for this day is actually Strife, since the majority of us are actually focusing our efforts on getting Deadpool to tier 3, not very many of us have him, and we probably won't have him for a few more weeks at the very least. Until then, these three characters that you see before you are actually going to be the creme de la creme, or the cream of the crop, because while there's definitely other characters in this category that can break 100k, these are going to be the three that require as little effort and as little investment as possible. Now, a lot of you guys may be under the assumption that since Magneto costs 6,600 crystals, he's the best character here by far for this day. And I'm here to tell you guys that unless you have a CTP of energy on your Magneto and a ton of resources invested in him, that is not the case. Because based on my testing, right now, these three characters are actually pretty close to each other in terms of overall score. I have all three of them running invincibility, and I want you guys to take a look at how they perform. On average with Mysterio, I get about 170 to 190. That's with invincibility on this day. With Claw, I get about 190 to 205. With Magneto, I get 200 to 215. Okay? Just take a look at the difference in score. However, keep in mind that even though Magneto gives me a little bit more than these guys, I actually have more invested in Magneto, and I think that is the reason why. I'll show you guys the overall build for all three of these guys, and then we'll jump in. We'll start with Magneto just to give you guys a good idea of what I'm talking about. You'll see right here for yourself, I have three of his stats maxed out. Okay, that's because I'm a die-hard Magneto fan. I have Urus on him. 4 amplified Urus with critical rate and energy attack. Skills all at 6. He's running Power of Angry Hulk. However, he's not designed for ABX. I was never making him for ABX, so I gave him invincibility. And that is the case for all three of these characters. At no point did I ever design them with their singular purpose being ABX. So none of them have a damage proc. However, because they can now fill a role on this day, it should ideally stand that you should give them a damage proc. You see for yourself right here, the only stat that I have maxed out with Claw is actually critical damage. And you'll see right here, I have no Urus on this guy. I have his skills at 6, and I have him running Overdrive, not as good at ISO as Magneto, and he's also running invincibility. Take a look at Mysterio. The same thing is the case. Only 2 of his stats are maxed out. He has no Urus. His skills are all at 6, and he's actually running Power of Angry Hulk with an invincibility obelisk as well. Now, all of that in mind, I want to give you guys some gameplay right here so you can see for yourself how all three of these characters perform, because they're very, very good options. Alright boys, so for this first run, we're going to use Mysterio. And one piece of advice, guys, don't let the Frost Beast hit you at all, okay? It sounds like I'm asking a lot, but I'm really not, because if you let him hit you, this is basically a wash, okay? You're going to get silenced, and then you're going to get killed, okay? Also, be very careful with Mysterio because he can't take hits. And if the Frost Beast roars, make sure that you're in one of his iframes, ideally his 5 or his 4, because the roar on the Frost Beast can one-shot you. It won't ever one-shot me, or at least it's never one-shotted me because I have invincibility. However, be very careful if you're running a damage proc, which you should if he's your main guy for this day. If you have, okay, good, I'm in here. But anyways, if you have max skill cooldown, you should be fine, and you could just go 5-4, 5-4, and you can just chain it back to back, and you'll easily get over 100k, and you'll be really safe. But if you want to be super aggressive to get the highest score possible with him, just be very careful, okay? Because like you see, I'm bouncing around the map, and sometimes you get pretty confused, or at the very least, I get confused because of the summons, and I lose track of where I am. So you don't want to let that happen, because if you get silenced, it's basically over. Well, you could still come back to get a decent score, but treat it like a solo, guys. Treat it like you're trying to flawlessly solo this thing. Otherwise, you're gonna be in for a headache. Ooh, that was so close. Ooh, this guy's tried so hard to jump me. The 5 is really, really good for grouping all the mobs together and getting rid of them. See, that kind of sucked because he was so far away, it canceled out the 5th skill. So one other tip I have to give you guys, whenever you're using the 5, make sure you're as close to the Frost Beast as possible. Because if he canceled out the 5th, he can just jump at you, and that's not good. You never want that to happen. The only reason he didn't jump at me and I lost track of where I was there for a second, I thought I was one of my clones and I was just like, what the heck is going on? I got silenced, but it's over. And we got 171, guys. A decent score based on the fact that I don't have any Urus on him and there's no damage proc. So he definitely can get over 200,000, boys. Alright, let's see how much better we can do with Claw. Pro tip, guys, whenever you're using Claw, make sure that you open with the 5th skill, even if you don't have a damage proc, simply because then you can evade the second jump from the Frost Beast. If you try to open with your summons, I found that he always hits me and then I get silenced. And also, Claw is a lot safer than Mysterio because he has the guard and the Frost Beast can't silence you through the guard. And the guard is also an 8-hit guard, right? So you can keep it up basically all the time. As long as you have max skill cooldown, you can put it up before it even comes down. So that's really, really good. All you really have to focus on is making sure that you don't get hit by meteors and just avoid the frost breath. That's it. If you do those 2 things, you can easily breeze to like 150 with this guy because he's very, very safe. And I mean 150 with no damage proc because I don't have a damage proc like I showed you guys. The summons are also really good for pulling the Frost Beast's attention and keeping him in place so you can take advantage of that 4 skill. Since the 4 skill is basically a one-dimensional skill where anywhere you summon it, it will go there, but if the Frost Beast moves, then you just lose a ton of damage. Granted, the ton of DPS that this guy has is on his 5th, and I really, really like the car. Love the animation. One of my favorite animations, I can't lie. All you really need to do with this guy is 5, 4, 3 and you're good. But if you want to mix it up, you can put 2 and 1 in there. Just keep in mind that 1 and 2 root you. So sometimes when you're using them, you might get hit by meteors landing on top of you, or the Frost Beast himself might jump you, because you can't rely on the summons to stay alive for too long. 1 roar is enough to kill all of his summons because they're really not that strong. But they do a really good job pulling the attention from Claw. And that's all you really need them for, right? It also helps that it's on the skill with the guard, so it's kind of a 2-for-1 type of deal with this guy. But that's one of the great things about Claw. He's basically a 2-for-1. He's an amazing support type to have because of the extra crit damage. And he's also an amazing standalone character. I got hit by the Frost Breath there. Not really anything I could have done about that. It's just the positioning of where the skill ended. It just had me come out of the iframe right in front of this guy. Really, really bad. Because he always just comes out of his freaking car like a boss and it's walking to the face of the enemy. So that's kind of why you always want to either use the 4 to roll out of the way and then use the 3. Or if you feel like being risky, you can use the 3 right away. It's completely up to you. But as you saw for yourself, man, 205, easy money with this guy. No damage proc, boys. Alright, Alright boys, so we're gonna play super aggressive here with Magneto, but we're also gonna try our best to keep the evasion meter as much as possible. To see just how high we can score with him. And he's gonna get guard broken pretty often in this because I don't have immunity to guard break. But I'm still just gonna stay up in the face of the Frost Beast. The only thing you really have to worry about is the meteors themselves and the Frost Breath, because his guard will protect him from being silenced. Yeah, even being super aggressive, guys, and keeping the evasion meter at full for what, almost 2 minutes now, his score looks pretty freaking close to what I had with Claw at around this time in the last one. So I'm telling you guys, if you don't have Magneto, you really don't need to worry. Claw, in my opinion, unless you have a CTP of energy on Magneto, Claw is probably going to be able to outdo him if you invest similar to how I invested my Magneto. So if you give freaking Claw some Urus right away, he will be able to topple Magneto's score. Or at the very least, match it. Like, the CTP of energy would help him because he just has continuous hits, so the chain damage will amplify his overall DPS. But you can see for yourself, we're about to wrap this thing up. There's what, 10 seconds left, and he's around where Claw was at this point in time, right? So you guys really don't need to stress too much about Magneto, because even though he had a better leadership, he has Urus, and I kept the evasion meter for the full 3 minutes of the fight, he was only able to put up an additional 6,000 compared to Yuli's Claw, who got 205,000. Some of you guys may be wondering where the 209 came from, and that was actually the very first run I did with Magneto. I did a run prior to this where I played extremely aggressive, and I did not care about the evasion meter at all, and he was only able to get me 209. And I decided I wanted to go back and do it again and then see if I kept the bar, what difference it would make. And you guys saw for yourself, we got 211. And while I could have definitely played Magneto significantly better here to get a slightly better score, just keep in mind that Claw doesn't have any Urus on him. So if I had given Claw Urus, he would have definitely been able to score at least the same amount as Magneto, if not more. So in my opinion, those of you guys who are stressing, thinking you need Magneto for this day if you don't have Strife, you do not have to worry. The free-to-play options are very, very good, guys. But that's all I have to share for today. Like always, thank you so much for watching. Hope it was informative, and I'll see you guys in the comment section. Peace.